Shalom, brothers and sisters. Grace, mercy, and peace be unto you from Yahuwah the Father and Yahusha our Mashiach, his voice. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah our mighty one, he is one Yahuwah. This is Brother David coming to you again to bring you Yahudah'S ben Matityahu. This episode is Revenge. And this is part 3. You see, that's the way that you would usually address him. He is the son of Mattithyahu. What a great legacy his father left. What made these people great and powerful? What made Yahuwah stand up, pay attention, and send his messengers, his servants, to oversee these brothers and these sisters while they were in the land under great tribulation? They kept the law. The law is your power. Without it, you are nothing. Let's begin. First Maccabees, chapter 3, verse 1 to 6. Verse 1. Then his son, Yahudah'S, called Maccabeus. Stop for 1 second. You see how they put the suffix US at the end? This is the Europeans inserting their god in the book. The US stands for Zeus. I want you to get that. They named themselves after their god. That is the real transliteration, Maccabi. Rose up in his stead. So his son took the place of the father. Verse 2. And all his brethren helped him. There was no division there, brothers and sisters. And so did all they that held with his father. And they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Yasharal. Verse 3. So he gat his people great honor, and put on a breastplate as a giant, and girt his warlike harness about him. And he made battles, protecting the host, his people, with his sword. Verse 4. In his acts he was like a lion, and a lion's whelp roaring for his prey. Verse 5. For he pursued the wicked, and sought them out, and burnt up those that vexed his people. Verse 6. Wherefore the wicked shrunk for fear of him, and all the workers of iniquity were troubled, because salvation prospered in his hand. What is salvation? What was in his hands? If you look in verse 3, you see it was the sword. Who did he save? His people. Verse 7. He grieved also many kings, and made Jacob glad with his acts. And his memorial is blessed forever. Jacob is the children of Yasharal. We're reading about Yahudah'S, his memorial, over 2,000 years later. Verse 8. Moreover, he went through the cities of Judah, destroying the unrighteous out of them. That word ungodly means unrighteous. Those who did not keep the law. Those who turned to other gods. Those who were calling upon the names of false gods. Those who were sacrificing pigs upon the altar. Those who were eating those pigs. And turning away wrath from Yasharal. Yahuwah is well pleased with Yahudah'S. How do we know this? The wrath of Yahuwah was upon the children of Yasharol because of what they have done, how they transgressed his law and turned to other gods. Once he cut them down with the sword, Yahuwah's wrath was turned away. Verse 9, so that he was renowned unto the utmost part of the earth. And he received unto him such as were ready to perish, the lame, the blind, the people who have been removed from their lands, the weak, the hungry. Verse 10, then Apollonius gathered the Gentiles together and a great host out of Samaria to fight against Yasharol. Look at that name, Apollonius. The heathen, which are these Gentiles here, they named themselves after their gods. You see Apollo there? In the Bible, it speaks of that, Apollyon. Speaking of these people, the Europeans, brothers and sisters, the white folks. Look at the end of Apollonius, has the suffix, so he has two gods in one name, Apollo, and the suffix us, the us, stands for Zeus. He gathered the heathen together to come to destroy us. Verse 11, which thing when Yahudah'S perceived, he went forth to meet him. So he smote him and slew him. Many also fell down slain, but the rest fled. Do you see what you can do when you have the spirit of Yahuwah? When you keep his laws, statutes, judgments, and commandments, when you carry them out. Verse 12, wherefore Yahudah'S took the spoils, and Apollonius's sword also, and therewith he fought all his life long. Now that's what you call gangster. He killed this guy, struck him down with the sword. Then he took Apollonius's sword. It must have been well balanced. It may have been made of special materials. It must have been beautiful. And he took that sword into every battle that he fought all his life. Verse 13. Now when Syrian, a prince of the army of Syria, heard say that Yahudah'S had gathered unto him a multitude and company of the faithful to go out with him to war. Check this. He only took out with him those who kept the law. Do you see that? He bypassed anyone who did not. Only those who kept the law went out with him to war. Verse 14. He said, who said? Syrian, the prince of the army of Syria, I will get me a name and honor in the kingdom, for I will go fight with Yahudah'S and them that are with him who despise the king's commandments. Syrian just made a bad decision. Verse 15. So he made him ready to go up, and there went with him a mighty host of the ungodly, the unrighteous, to help him and to be avenged of the children of Yasharol. Verse 16. And when he came near to the going up of Beth Horon, Yahudah'S went forth to meet him with a small company. Verse 17. Who, when they saw the host coming to meet them, these are the children of Yasharol, said unto Yahudah'S, how shall we be able, being so few, to fight against so great a multitude and so strong, seeing we are ready to faint with fasting all this day? They usually fasted before a battle. Verse 18, the answer. Unto whom Yahudah'S answered, It's no hard matter for many to be shut up in the hands of a few. What is he telling you? One can chase 1,000. Two could put 10,000 to flight. And with the mighty one of heaven, it is all one, to deliver with a great multitude or a small company. Verse 19, for the victory of battle standeth not in the multitude of a host, but strength cometh from heaven. He knows where his strength lies. He is keeping the laws, the statutes, the judgments, and commandments. Therefore, Yahuwah, the master of the universe, is required to keep his part of the bargain. He is the one who cannot lie. Verse 20, they come against us in much pride and iniquity to destroy us, and our wives and children, and to spoil us. Verse 21, but we fight for our lives and our laws. Do you see that? Are we fighting for our laws today? You have to be ready to defend them at any point. Therefore, you have to be knowledgeable. Every day you go out in the streets and you teach and you preach the law, the ways of Yahuwah, you're in a battle. Verse 22, wherefore Yahuwah himself, listen to this, will overthrow them before our face. He is required to do so, because he has promised. And as for you, be ye not afraid of them. Verse 23. Now as soon as he had left off speaking, he leapt suddenly upon them, and so Syrian and his host was overthrown before him. They came at Syrian and his hosts like a band of lions, roaring as they came. Verse 24, and they pursued them. They ran, brothers and sisters, from the going down of Beth Horon unto the plain, where were slain about 800 men of them, and the residue fled into the land of the Philistines. Did you hear about any of Yahudah's people being killed? Verse 25. Then began the fear of Yahudah's and his brethren. You better believe it. They came in the power of Yahuwah, and an exceedingly great dread to fall upon the nations round about them. Verse 26. Insomuch as his fame came unto the king, and all nations talked of the battles of Yahudah's. This must have vexed the king, brothers and sisters, that at the dinner table, the topic was how valiant this Yahudah's ben Matityahu was, how he destroyed every single army that was sent against him with just a small contingent. Verse 27. Now when King Antiochus heard these things, he was full of indignation. Wherefore he sent and gathered together all the forces of his realm, even, indeed, for a surety, a very strong army. Verse 28. He opened also his treasure, and gave his soldiers pay for a year, commanding them to be ready whensoever he should need them. Isn't that the way the United States does today? You pay your army even though they're not at war. Verse 29. Nevertheless, even though he opened his treasure, gave his soldiers pay for a year, when he saw that the money of his treasures failed, and that the tributes in the country were small, because of the dissension and plague which he had brought upon the land in taking away the laws which had been of old time. Do you see this? There is nothing new under the sun. The treasuries of the United States has failed. They're printing money out of the blue. We're $23 trillion in debt. Once they add this other $2 trillion, it's going to be $25 trillion in debt. You can't come back from that. The tributes, the taxes in the country, they were small. Why? People stopped giving. Because Yahudah's been Mattityahu. He had shaken things up. And it had caused dissension, division. They couldn't agree upon anything. Then Yahuwah sent a plague. There's nothing new under the sun, brothers and sisters. This is how he works. Which he, who is he, Antiochus Epiphanes, the heathen, had brought upon the land in taking away the laws which had been of old time. This is incredible. It's happening now. And it happened then also. He hits you where it hurts, in the pockets. And once they hit you in the pockets, then you become divided. Then Yahuwah sends a plague. Now you're all discombobulated. Then he tells you the reason why he sent this division and plague, because they took away his laws. Verse 30. He feared that he should not be able to bear the charges any longer, nor to have such gifts to give so liberally as he did before. For he had abounded above the kings that were before him. He was once the greatest in the land, just like the United States was the greatest in the land. But look at it now. Verse 31. Wherefore, being greatly perplexed in his mind, he determined to go to Persia, there to take the tributes of the country. It's obvious Persia wasn't sending the tributes, and to gather much money. So he decided to go take it. Verse 32. So he left Lysias, a nobleman, and one of the blood royals, to oversee the affairs of the king from the river Euphrates unto the borders of Egypt. That's our land. Between the river Euphrates and the river of the Nile. Verse 33. And to bring up his son Antiochus until he came again, to bring up the little heathen. Verse 34. Moreover, he delivered unto him the half of his forces and the elephants, and gave him charge of all things that he would have done, as also concerning them that dwelt in Yehudah and Jerusalem. Verse 35. To wit, that he should send an army against them, to destroy and root out the strength of Yasharal. Our strength lies in the law. Once we keep the law, Yahuwah has to fight our battles. They wanted to remove them from the law. They also wanted to destroy the remnant of Jerusalem and to take away their memorial from that place. What memorial is that? The temple. Verse 36. And that he should place strangers in all their quarters and divide their land by lot. What strangers is that? The scribes, the Pharisees, all of the teachers who came after during the Roman period were appointed by the Romans. Strangers, brothers and sisters. Why do you think Yahusha kept saying things like, you are of your father who is the devil? Verse 37. So the king took the half of the forces that remained and departed from Antioch, his royal city, the 147th year. And having passed the river Euphrates, he went through the high countries. You see how the river Euphrates keeps showing up, brothers and sisters? It's beginning to dry up now. Verse 38. Then Lysias chose Ptolemy, the son of Dorymenes, Nicanor, and Georgius, mighty men of the king's friends. Verse 39. And with them he sent 40,000 footmen and 7,000 horsemen to go into the land of Yehudah and to destroy it as the king commanded. This was a mighty force, brothers and sisters. Verse 40. So they went forth with all their power and came and pitched by Emmaus in the plain country. Verse 41. Look what happens next. And the merchants of the country, hearing the size of this army, they took silver and gold very much with servants, and came into the camp to buy the children of Yasharol for slaves. They perceived in their mind that Yahudah'S ben Mattityahu and the faithful could not stand against this great army. So let us prepare ourselves to purchase the booty, the spoils of war, which were what? The people. A power also of Syria and of the land of the Philistines joined themselves unto them. Here we have more armies. A power came from Syria and from the land of Philistines. They says, we want to join in with you. We want to take a part in destroying Yahudah's Maccabees, who had brought all of this dissension and the plagues upon the land. Because he is serving Yahuwah, he is cutting down our people. Verse 42. Now when Yahudah's and his brethren saw that miseries were multiplied, and that the forces did encamp themselves in their borders, for they knew how the king had given commandment to destroy the people and utterly abolish them, wipe them out. Verse 43. Listen what the children of Yasharol said to one another. Let us restore the decayed fortune of our people, and let us fight for our people in the sanctuary. They didn't see the numbers that were coming. They had faith in Yahuwah. They had saw that Yahuwah was fighting their battles. They didn't even think about the numbers. They said, we see an opportunity here to restore our decayed fortune. We can fight for our people in the sanctuary. This will be the defining battle. Verse 44. Then was the congregation gathered together, that they might be ready for battle, and that they might pray. Before you do anything, you pray, and you ask for mercy and compassion for the forgiveness of your transgressions of the law. Verse 45. Now Jerusalem lay void as a wilderness. There was none of the children of Yasharol that went in or out. The sanctuary also was trodden down, and aliens, illegal aliens, who are the Europeans, the heathen, kept the stronghold. The heathen had their habitation in that place, and joy was taken away from Jacob, from the children of Yasharol, and the pipe with the harp ceased. No more parties, no more rejoicing. Who did this? The heathen. Verse 46. Wherefore the Yasharalites assembled themselves together and came to Maspah over against Jerusalem, for in Maspah was the place where they prayed aforetime in Yasharol. Verse 47. Then they fasted that day. Anytime before you get to do something major, you fast. They put on sackcloth and cast ashes upon their heads and tore their garments. Verse 48. Watch this. And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. I told you there's nothing new under the sun. The heathen were doing this all the way back then. Replacement theology. The best way to replace Yahuwah was to paint their image in the book. When you looked at that image and he was considered to be your God, you look at the white man as though he is a God. He is not. As we see here, the book of Maccabees reveals something. That the white man is the devil. The white man is the heathen. The white man is a criminal. He placed the likeness of his images, Zeus, in the book of the law. How did they do that? Antiochus Epiphanes went into the temple in chapter 1, and he took all the goodly things. He took the Torah scrolls. They read them. They saw that they were not involved, so they began to replace things. And they painted their images in the book. Yahudah's Maccabees went and destroyed them and recovered the books of the law. Verse 49. They brought also the priest's garments, and the first fruits, and the tithes, and the Nazarites they stirred up, who had accomplished their days. Uh-oh. Those who took the Nazarite vow had finished their days. Their vow was up. Their locks had grown. They were unable. They were not supposed to cut their hair. They must have looked like Medusas on the battlefield. Medusa is the serpent head creature that the Europeans were worshiping. Just think of that scary look coming at you with swords drawn, unafraid of you, coming in haste to chop off your heads. Verse 50. Then cried they with a loud voice towards heaven, saying, What shall we do with these? And whither shall we carry them away? They're asking Yahuwah for instructions. Do you know the problem with these brothers that are out there today calling themselves teachers? They don't ask for instructions. I know this for a truth. The only way that I found the path that leads to Yahuwah is because I asked him. And he showed me. And he told me, you're going to have to work for this. And I worked for 2 years to uncover all of these truths. They needed instructions on how they should defeat their enemies. Verse 51. For thy sanctuary, O mighty one, is trodden down and profaned by these heathen. They've sacrificed pigs upon the altar. And thy priests are in heaviness. They slew the priests, and they were brought low. Verse 52. And lo, and look, O mighty one, the heathen are assembled together in great numbers against us to destroy us. What things they imagine against us, you know what they're thinking. Verse 53. How shall we be able to stand against them except thou, O Yahuwah, be our help in the time of trouble? That should be your prayer, even to this day. Verse 54. Then sounded they with trumpets, and cried with a loud voice, You know the enemy heard this. It must have brought fear. Verse 55. And after this, Yahudah'S ordained captains over the people, even captains over thousands, and over hundreds, and over 50s, and over 10s. This is what I must do today. I need captains for this channel. I need captains over the people. I need strong men who love Yahuwah, who keep his Sabbaths, his feast days, his commandments. I need them to be over the men that come to this channel with foolishness. I need captains, powerful women who keep the law, who love Yahuwah, to be captains over those who come to this channel, those who speak foolishness. We need those to keep them in check. This work is too big just for me. Even when I had my ministry before, I had deacons and elders, and I had women that were set over the other women. But here I'm all alone. It's time for me to choose the faithful, because we are in a battle. Verse 56. But as for such as were building houses, or had been betrothed wives, or were planting vineyards, or were fearful, those he commanded that they should return every man to his own house according to the law. They kept the law to the letter. If you were fearful, you were not supposed to go in battle. If you were planting vineyards, you were supposed to bring in the harvest. If you were betrothed a wife, you must bring forth a seed. You could not go into battle for a whole year. You have to cheer her up. If you were building houses, you were supposed to enjoy the fruit of your labor. At least you were supposed to be able to live in that house. Verse 57. So the camp removed and pitched upon the south side of Emmaus. Verse 58. And Yehudah said, Arm yourselves. And Brother David said, Arm yourselves with the law, and be valiant men and women, and see that ye be in readiness against the morning, that we may fight against these nations that are assembled together against us, to destroy us and our sanctuary. Well, we're not fighting with swords. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they are mighty through Yahuwah to the pulling down of strongholds. We can only do this together. We cannot be divided. We cannot let those from the outside, the wicked, the unrighteous, come in to try to destroy what Yahuwah has built all of these years. Verse 59. For it is better for us to die in battle than to behold the calamities of our people and our sanctuary. They were committed, brothers and sisters. Verse 60. Nevertheless, as the will of Yahuwah is in heaven, so let him do. Abba, Baba, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Yahuwah. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Carry out your will, O Mighty One. Do whatever pleases you, for it is better that we die in battle than behold the calamities of our people in our sanctuary. Even if we lose our life, we know that it is your will, but you have the power to raise this flesh suit from the grave, to resurrect the body and to join the spirit and the soul back together as one. You, O Mighty One, we put our trust in you, even indeed for a surety in this time of trouble. Continue to part 4. Shalom.